Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Simple English Hub, the place where you learn English in simple and practical ways. Today, we are going to talk about something that every English learner wants to improve: vocabulary for spoken English. Many learners study English for a long time, but when they try to speak, they suddenly feel that they do not have enough words. They want to express an idea, tell a story, or answer a question, but the right vocabulary does not come to their mind. Because of this, they become nervous and sometimes stop speaking completely. This happens to many learners because of the way vocabulary is usually studied. Some students memorize long lists of words from textbooks or dictionaries. They might know the meaning of those words, but they rarely use them in real conversations. As a result, the words stay in their memory only for a short time and disappear when they try to speak. Another common mistake is learning difficult or rare vocabulary instead of focusing on common words used in everyday conversations. If you want to speak English confidently, you need vocabulary that you can remember quickly and use naturally in real situations. The good news is that learning vocabulary for spoken English does not need to be complicated. With the right methods and consistent practice, you can build a strong vocabulary step by step. In today's lesson, I will share 10 effective ways to learn vocabulary that will actually help you speak English more fluently. 1. Learn words in sentences. One of the most effective ways to learn vocabulary for spoken English is to learn words inside sentences rather than memorizing them alone. When learners memorize single words from a list, they may remember the meaning temporarily, but they often forget how to use those words in conversation. Sentences provide context, which helps the brain understand the meaning, grammar, and pronunciation at the same time. For example, instead of learning the word improve by itself, it is more helpful to learn the sentence, "I want to improve my English speaking skills." This sentence shows how the word is used naturally in conversation. Another example might be, "She is improving her pronunciation every day." When learners repeat sentences like these, the vocabulary becomes part of their natural speaking ability. Over time, the brain begins to remember not only the word, but also the structure of the sentence, which makes speaking easier and more automatic. 2. Focus on common daily words. Another important strategy for building spoken vocabulary is focusing on common words used in daily conversations. Many learners try to memorize difficult or advanced words that native speakers rarely use in everyday communication. However, spoken English is often simple and direct. Words like think, feel, make, learn, try, and talk appear very frequently in conversations. For example, if someone asks, "Why are you learning English?" a natural answer could be, "I want to learn English to talk with people from different countries." Another example could be answering the question, "What do you do to improve your English?" with, "I watch English videos and practice speaking." These answers use simple vocabulary, but they communicate ideas clearly and effectively. By focusing on common words that appear in real conversations, learners can build a vocabulary that is practical and useful for everyday speaking situations.
3. Read and listen to English every day. Reading and listening are powerful ways to discover new vocabulary naturally. When learners read English books, articles, or subtitles, they see how words are used in meaningful contexts. At the same time, listening to English through videos, podcasts, or conversations helps learners understand how those words sound when spoken by native speakers. For example, a learner might read the sentence, "Practice is the key to success," and learn the word practice in a meaningful context. Another example could be hearing someone say, "Confidence grows when you speak regularly." From this sentence, the learner learns the word confidence and understands its meaning through context. When reading and listening become daily habits, vocabulary begins to grow naturally because the brain is constantly exposed to new words and expressions. 4. Speak the words out loud. Speaking vocabulary out loud is extremely important for learners who want to improve their spoken English. Many students study vocabulary silently by reading or writing, but they rarely practice saying the words. However, pronunciation practice helps the brain connect sound and meaning. For example, if a learner studies the word confidence, they should practice saying a sentence like, "I want to speak English with confidence." Another example could be, "Practice helps me build confidence." When learners say sentences aloud several times, they train their mouth to produce English sounds more comfortably. This method also helps reduce fear and hesitation when speaking because the learner becomes familiar with the sound of their own voice using English words. 5. Keep a vocabulary notebook. Keeping a vocabulary notebook is another powerful method for learning new words. Instead of writing only the word and its translation, learners should write complete sentences and examples. For instance, if a learner writes the word challenge, they might include the sentence, "Learning a new language can be a challenge." Another example could be, "I enjoy the challenge of improving my English." By writing and reviewing sentences like these, learners create a personal collection of useful expressions that they can revisit and practice regularly. Over time, the notebook becomes a valuable learning tool that contains vocabulary relevant to the learner's daily life and speaking needs. 6. Use new words in conversations. Vocabulary becomes truly useful when it is used in conversations. After learning a new word, learners should try to use it immediately in small dialogues or spoken sentences. For example, a learner might practice a conversation such as, "Why are you studying English?" "I am studying English because I want to improve my speaking skills." Another example could be, "What helps you learn English faster?" "Practicing speaking and listening helps me learn faster." These short conversations help reinforce vocabulary because the learner is actively using the words instead of simply memorizing them. Over time, this practice makes it easier to recall vocabulary during real conversations. 7. Describe your daily activities. Another excellent method for building spoken vocabulary is describing daily activities in English. This simple exercise encourages learners to use vocabulary related to real-life situations. For example, in the morning, a learner might say, "I am preparing breakfast." Later, they might say, "I am studying English now." And in the evening, they might say, "I am watching an English video." These simple descriptions help learners practice everyday vocabulary while also training the brain to think in English. As this habit continues, learners become more comfortable forming sentences and expressing their thoughts naturally. 8. Practice questions and answers. Practicing questions and answers is another effective way to develop vocabulary for spoken English. Conversations often begin with simple questions, so learners should practice responding to common questions using complete sentences. For example, someone might ask, "Where do you practice English?" And the learner could answer, "I practice English at home and online." Another example might be the question, "How often do you study English?" with the answer, "I study English every day." Practicing these types of questions help learners prepare for real-life conversations and builds confidence when interacting with others. 9. Review vocabulary regularly. Reviewing vocabulary regularly is essential for long-term memory. Many learners study new words but forget them quickly because they do not review them. Repetition strengthens memory and helps vocabulary move from short-term memory to long-term memory. For example, if a learner studied the word improve yesterday, they should try to use it again today in sentences such as, "I want to improve my pronunciation," or "Reading helps me improve my vocabulary." By revisiting words multiple times and using them in different sentences, learners strengthen their understanding and make the vocabulary easier to recall during conversations. 10. Be patient and practice every day. The final and most important strategy is patience and consistency. Building a strong vocabulary takes time, and learners should not expect immediate results. Instead of trying to memorize hundreds of words in one day, it is more effective to learn a few useful words each day and practice using them in sentences. For example, a learner might say, "Today I learned 5 new English words," and then practice using those words in short sentences throughout the day. Over weeks and months, these small daily efforts accumulate and create a strong vocabulary foundation. Consistent practice, combined with patience, leads to long-term improvement and greater confidence in spoken English.